100 years ago, this was all native land. We take it.
The Army should come in here and clear this mess up right away.
People were tasered. They had tear gas cannons pointed at people and live ammo guns pulled out.
Officers were required to use some force in order to effect some of the arrests.
When we went to help, I was shot with a taser in the chest.
There was some gentlemen that I know were watching the sacred fire and stuff, and I seen them getting thrown to the ground. One fella was, it took about 8 cops to take him down.
Behind the lines, more evidence of anger. A pile of tires was set ablaze, sending thick clouds of black smoke into the blue sky. Premier David Peterson famously described as the day the devil threw a party and that everybody came.
The clashes were violent and ugly as native and non-native residents fought in Caledonia. To call the situation tense and volatile would be an understatement. Police could not keep the two sides apart as tempers boiled over.
A couple of people threw a couple of punches at a couple of police officers, but there's nothing totally out of control.
The answer is for everybody here to go home and let things settle.
Why do you think they took the road in the first place?
Because the cops went in. If the police didn't go in, they wouldn't have gone on the road. But the cops aren't going in now, the cops are protecting them, but they're still not getting off the road.
And we sort of anxiously await the federal government to come to bring the tools to the table that we don't have, quite frankly, as a province.
But those barricades would never have gone up if the OPP hadn't have been ordered to go in there. That was a mistake.
And whose mistake was that?
Well, who orders the OPP to do things?
Well, the Ontario Provincial Police, I would think, answered to Dalton McGuinty, and the next day Dalton McGuinty said, I didn't order that raid.
Yeah.
Was he covering his ass? Or was
I think so. We've had this happen before, right?
The only body that is in a position to bring this, the discussions to fruition is the federal government.
In an interview, the minister responsible for Aboriginal affairs appeared to distance the province from the raid.
I don't think these issues can be settled through a police action. The only way these issues can be settled is through negotiation and settlement of outstanding land claims.
All I can say is the Canadian government has no control over the Canadian people. If they did, they'd settle this right now. Look what they have. They have a wall of police officers.
Yeah, kids are scared. Our elderly are scared. People can't go to church. People can't live. People can't run their farms. Lady can't run her hairdressing business.
See out of this is an inquiry that in the end would actually hold some of our politicians accountable. And I think history is going to show that their ability to manage this situation has been terrible.
They're sick and tired of the lawlessness that's just going on across the road there. And the inactivity by all those levels of government. They haven't done anything.
Describe your personal feelings.
Frustrated. Very frustrated. The lack of faith in pretty much the government and the police and everything that's gone on with it.
Definitely frustrated through the lack of action by the federal and provincial governments. It seems like they've forgotten all about we residents of the town here, eh?
And the frustration that exists, I believe, not only with Six Nations but also with Caledonia, needs to be directed in a place where it's deserving. And it's not against each other, it's against the Crown, the government that has put us both in that situation.
We're not interested in talking to 24 million Canadians. We want to talk to their government. To the government base.
I just have to say to people, stay patient. The only way to resolve this is through this process, and it does take patience, it does take time, but it's the only way to really get that permanent result that we want.
This will be a milestone in the Canadian Constitution, in the Canadian history books. That Canada couldn't solve a simple problem with natives.
So how should they solve it?
In Germany, give them the land on the front page. In
so
Germany,
they give them
a treaty.
Yeah. So you support the natives getting the land?
I completely do. Give them their land.
So why are you on this side and not that side?
Because I can't go over there. Yeah, we can't get over there, and I'll go there.
It's the old squeaky wheel situation, so where First Nations are frustrated in not having their claims recognized or not seeing a fruitful resolution of their claims and are engaging in different types of protests, then that has the effect of getting media coverage, which then makes people more sympathetic often to the nature of the claim, or certainly makes people more informed about the nature of the claim, which can have the effect of pushing government to the negotiating table.
I guess the natives probably feel that if they step things down, then they'll be losing their position. They're in a very strong bargaining position.
But they're not going to be after. That's what they're forgetting, because after all of this is done, this takes months, this takes a year. They eventually are going to have to come back into the town to go shopping, to go to McDonald's, to do any of that kind of stuff, and they're not going to be welcome.
From their side, they would say that they're doing this because they have no other recourse, because nobody's listening to them or taking their position seriously.
Why did they go up to Pickering and fucking take the nuclear? You know what? Take your protest to the Parliament building. Take it right to the government store.
A year and counting in the Caledonia dispute, and the warrior flag went up outside the Ontario legislature. Mounted police stood by for crowd control, officers guarded the building, but protesters made their point peacefully about native land claims and
because of the OPP and what they did, by coming in and attacking our people, and the people pushing back in peace and maintaining our presence on that land. Only did they recognize that we are connected to that land, and there is very deep
Do you think the mood has really turned against the natives in the last few weeks?
You know what? I think they had a lot of support, and I think they've lost it by keeping that barricade up. They've been told, move the barricade, and they haven't. So they lost a lot of support from people.
Caledonia also came up in the Commons today. Brant Liberal MP Lloyd Senaman grilled Indian Affairs Minister Jim Prentice during question period.
Now that it's been 1 year and nothing has been accomplished, will this minister show the necessary leadership and agree to personally meet with the parties involved?
The dispute is, of course, not 1 year old. It's, in fact, 200 years old. But today, everyone who's been involved has been acting responsibly in a positive way, in a balanced way. I include Chief David General in that sense, the provincial negotiator Jane Stewart, Barton McDougall, the federal negotiator, and Alan McNaughton, the national chief. The only hysterical voices are those of the Liberals, Mr. Speaker, and it shows Canadians again why they lack leadership and why they lack the ability to govern this country.
These developers thought they were going to develop land that belonged to Cayuga, and there's no development in Cayuga. That's the law. Like, Jesus, get a life, buddy. We feel for the fact that you're out of land to build, but we have to feed you. And the natives are right about that. That land was supposed to be used for farm use only, not what's going on over there.
We've respected and we've given, and I think that we're at a point now where we recognize that if we continue to sit back and do nothing, there'll be nothing left.
Caledonia thinks they've got it bad. What about us? We've been waiting. They're waiting, what, 1 year? We've been waiting over 200 years for this to be.
Originally, the land that is being developed right now, there was a farm on it. And it was being farmed, and it was native land.
And people knew that it was native land
yes.
in this area.
Actually, the developer knew it was native.
The land continues to be the focal point of the dispute, but the issues being discussed at the negotiating table go far beyond this. The natives are concerned about the Ontario Greenbelt legislation, the Places to Grow Act, policies they feel will lead to further development all around this area on lands which they claim were never surrendered.